More on the state of where things are. Republican from South Carolina, Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Thank you so much for joining us, Congresswoman. You heard Hakeem Jeffries right there. His take is that he argues that Republicans are essentially holding the economy hostage, holding things hostage here to try to get cuts that Republicans couldn't get any other way. How do you respond?
Well, Hakeem Jeffries is politicizing the debt ceiling negotiations right now because guess what? The vast majority of Americans want the U.S. Congress to cut spending. And that means Republicans and Democrats alike agree that we need to rein in out of control spending. This is one way to do that. And honestly, I don't think Kevin McCarthy's ask is really that much of a heavy lift. He's asking to freeze spending levels at 2022. We're asking for work requirements and a few other things. These are all things that every American, Republican or Democrat alike, can agree with. And we've got to move forward. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats alike, have created this problem, this $32 trillion of debt. Both sides need to sit down and negotiate a fix for this. And there's no reason to default. That's just a scare tactic. That's not what's happening here.
Considering where this started, you know where the Republicans started on this, but considering where this started with President Biden saying that he would not negotiate, they would not negotiate any spending cuts. I am wondering how you view it is any cut, any clawback of COVID funding, any spending cap that's put in place at the end of this, is that a win for Republicans?
Well, I believe that most Republicans, like most Americans, they want to see spending cuts. If we could freeze spending levels to 2022, like the original proposal, then that's something I believe the vast majority of Americans can get on board with. But at some point, we have to say, do we want to run off the edge of this cliff at 80 miles per hour or 75 miles per hour? We have to have responsible measures in place that hold both sides accountable when they spend too much. This is one way to do that, to rein in out of control spending that was started by Democrats and Republicans alike. Pointing fingers across the aisle today, like Hakeem Jeffries just did, doesn't win anything for the American people. We ought to be talking. Everybody on both sides should be sitting down. I have full faith in Kevin McCarthy as our leader to negotiate a deal with the president, and I feel positive about what he's doing right now and have full faith in his ability to negotiate.
Fitch, one of the top credit rating agencies, just put the U.S. on a watch for a potential downgrade over the uncertainty that, and kind of as you were describing it, is heading off the cliff here. I'm curious, are you concerned at all that if this happens, if we run past the X date, if Fitch would downgrade the U.S. credit rating, that Republicans will face blame or backlash? And I'm not saying only Republicans, but that Republicans will face backlash, since it is true that Republicans have supported clean debt ceiling increases in the very recent past.
Right. I'm not going to disagree with you there that it sometimes seems like Republicans only care about spending when Democrats are in charge. Republicans have added a lot of money to that $32 trillion of debt, so they're not innocent in this thing. But at some point, we have to say we have to hit pause. And there's no reason to default. There's no reason to lose our credit rating. If the date comes and goes of June 1st, what that means is we need to prioritize our spending. And guess what? In terms of tax revenues, we get 11 times the amount needed to pay the interest on the debt. So we'd pay that first and then pay other bills second, third, and fourth, and on down the line. It just means we reprioritize how we pay America's bills until we negotiate a deal, and that's finalized.
Real quick on that some Republicans say they don't believe Janet Yellen, essentially, and don't trust it. They think that, almost describing it as like she's trying to scare folks with the June 1st date. Do you believe the warning about June 1st? Are you okay running past it?
Well, originally the date was July, then it was moved up to June 1st. We're all keeping a keen eye on Janet Yellen to see if she pushes the goalpost back. And if she does, that will say a lot about her position.
I think part of it, and we'll move on, but I think part of it was she says that less money was coming in, that's kind of what led to the date being changed. But before I let you go, I do want to ask you about something that's just happened and has been ongoing in South Carolina. The governor of your state just signed, just moments ago today, into law a 6-week abortion ban. I think we're showing folks live some pictures of that signing that happened with the governor there. This has been a long fight in the state legislature we've covered closely. A bipartisan group of women senators even standing up to fight against this 6-week ban, but the governor is signing it. As a Republican yourself who has stood up against the restrictions that we're seeing like this, What is your reaction? What should people think about your state today?
As a survivor of rape, as a rape victim, I can't tell you how disappointed I am to see South Carolina and other states like Florida and elsewhere, North Carolina, where they're mandating that miscarriages are reported. In South Carolina, with this bill, I support the exceptions for rape and incest, but I do not support the requirement where rapes are reported to DHEC, to a state agency. Look, our government can't keep your social security number private, that data private. How are they going to keep women's health care? How are they not going to violate HIPAA and keep that information private? That is a private decision for women, and the government shouldn't have that information. It shouldn't be reported to the government. And as a rape victim, I can't even imagine if my name and information was in a database like that. I don't know what I would do. I would be beside myself. And we need to show, as conservatives, because I'm a pro-life Republican, show that we are pro-women and pro-life. And that means not requiring draconian reporting requirements for women and girls who are victims of rape, victims of incest, or who've had miscarriages, or a fatal fetal abnormality. That's none of the government's, they don't need to know that information. It's none of their business.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for coming on and hitting on both of this. I really appreciate your time.